Toronto is about to get more density. We are about to upzone a lot of major streets for what they're calling gentle density. And as usual, there's going to be a lot of opposition to it. And there's also a lot of people agreeing to it. I'm going to give you my take on this and how it's going to impact the real estate market going forward, especially if you own properties that are on major artery roads. So make sure you stay tuned. Now, if you're looking for some help on how to navigate this real estate market, because it is, I don't know, it's getting more weird as the spring market goes on. It really is. Like, there's more and more weird things that are happening, and I think the market's definitely slowing down. I was just even telling a lot of clients that this week, I've never seen this number ever before in the decade I've been doing this, which is we crested 20,000 active listings, meaning that there are now 20,000 options to pick and choose from in the Greater Toronto area. And I've never seen this much inventory before. And like I've always said before, inventory basically drives prices for the next 30 to 60 days, regardless of interest rates. And I've been saying this for a lot of times, and some people understand it, some people don't. But if you're kind of concerned about how to navigate the real estate market because you're seeing 20,000 active listings right now, can actually sell, what's it going to take to sell, and how long it's going to be on the market, and you want to just figure that out so that you can actually make the move to your next home, you can book a call with me using the link that's on the screen. It's right here. It's www.chatwithzen.com. Simply click on the date and a time that works best for you. And then when you see the prompt, fill in your name, email, mobile phone number, and the question you have for me, and then we'll chat then. Good day, Toronto. Welcome to another episode of Prime Properties TV. My name is Zhen. If you're enjoying the content I'm putting out there, do me a favor and like and subscribe. So the article we'll be reviewing today is Toronto to vote on housing plan for major streets amid opposition. Look, there's always going to be opposition, whatever. It's just democracy, so I'm not against it. But Toronto councillors are set to decide on a plan to permit more townhomes and small apartment buildings on major streets. So imagine like your Youngs, your Dufferins, your Bloors, your Bathursts, your Bayviews, right? While some people are obviously pushing back, right? So the proposal is looking to aim and relax zoning bylaws to allow buildings on these major roads to have up to 6 stories in different parts of the city. Look, this is perfectly fine. We had a little bit of pushback for like garden suites and everything, but we got past it and we had it. Did it move the needle? A little bit, but did it become the silver bullet that everyone was thinking of? No, not at all. Because you know why? Vancouver was talking about this in 2003. Yeah, didn't really move the needle for them either, right? So I think this is a step in the right direction, but it's not going to solve everything, because at the end of the day, the people who are bringing this product online have to still be incentivized to make money on it, right? So if the thing doesn't pencil, meaning like your construction, the time in which you have to hold the property, the cost of acquiring this property on the street right now, is it going to be feasible to do the project? And at the moment right now, when interest rates are high, labor is still high, but it's coming down a little bit, I don't think this is going to move the needle. Is it going to move the needle in the next few years when maybe rates come back down and things are a little bit, not as inflationary? Yeah, maybe, right? The long developing plan could be enabling buildings up to 30 units on many major streets. And a lot of people arguing that it's rushing it. I don't think it's rushing it because we have a housing crisis. We clearly just don't have enough homes, right, that are, call it, affordable for a lot of people. And one of my challenges in looking at this is, I think a lot of people are trying to get into that ground-based level home, right? So you can start a family, you may not have a backyard in this, but at the very least, like you can walk out as opposed to take an elevator, right? In a good school district. The challenge is once you get to 30 units, like, I don't know if you're realistically still looking at ground-based housing, right? Like you may be looking at stacked townhomes, so it's kind of on the ground, but once you get to like 5-6 stories, you're definitely going to have to take stairs at some point, right? And some of the savings in this is if you do like, wood structure and no elevators, but I think we're still going to be moving towards that kind of apartment lifestyle where owning houses that are, ground based are going to be very sought after and just passed on generationally, like all other big cities, right? Again, that's what I think is going to happen. And this zoning bylaw is probably not going to help that. Also, I would probably say that the zoning bylaws are going to make properties on major streets more expensive. That's always been the case. So what they're saying here is a 30-unit cap on the projects will make them financially unviable for developers in places like Scarborough. So essentially what, this article is saying that like the math is a math, it doesn't pencil. So even if you allow people to build this many units, you can't make these projects like profitable enough for the builder to actually undergo all the risk. And look, this is going to upset some people, but I'm not taking the builder side. But if the builder doesn't make money, and their margins are somewhere between like 10 to 15% on a big scale, right? And if the juice ain't worth the squeeze, they ain't squeezing it, right? So if there's so much risk and 30 unit is just what they're capable of doing, they may not bother trying to, take on all that risk to build these projects, which means we have no units, right? And that's kind of one of the challenges, right? Because the developer said profit margins on smaller projects can be negligible and pushing them to larger projects. And this is why a lot of builders do the 40, 50 story towers, because there's just more money to be made in that sense. You just have to look at it this way. A lot of people may not understand development, but most people understand the restaurant business. So I've had, the blessing of looking at a lot of, restaurant kind of like balance sheets and everything when we're doing commercial. And essentially, when you look at a restaurant, say for every dollar you make, 20 to 30% of that is in like your food. 20 to 30% of that is in your real estate. And 20 to 30% of that is in your staff. And this is why the margins on a restaurant are very, very thin, which is essentially your alcohol, because your margins are higher in that sense, right? So the restaurant's not a great business. And it's the same thing with development, because your land cost is very expensive. Your, call it cost of goods sold, which is your labor and your hard costs for the concrete, aluminum, all that stuff, that's also very expensive. And then the weird thing about development is there's also taxes on selling this stuff too, right? So all those things are pretty hard costs. So for things to like pencil, to make sense, all this kind of upzoning is doing is it's increasing the economy of scale and increasing the speed in which they can build these things, meaning that the duration these developers are holding it are lower, which means that it increase their margins. But until land cost comes down, and I don't think this upzoning is going to change that. In fact, it's going to go the other way. Prices may not come down. Until labor and construction come down, I don't think that's happening. And we are slowly starting to see a little bit of construction deflation, but not enough to move the needle. And we really need to see the taxes side come down, because I think that's unnecessary. And I've said this many times before, we should just increase property taxes some more, right? So we can actually have more development. And yes, I know the argument is developers will make more money, but at least it gets them building, right? Even if they make a little bit more, it would get more houses. So I think this councillor Brad Bradford said they're looking at 60 cap units to see if it makes it more feasible. And I think that's great. But now it circles back to what I was saying, right? At 60 units, what are we building, right? A lot of these, 40, 50 story buildings, they have always been investor driven. So they're smaller units. Like your most popular ones are 1+1 with 2 washrooms, because you can treat it as a 2-bedroom and rent it out in that sense, right? But we're not building these ground-based homes that people actually want to live in, right? So I think while we are putting more units on the market and it helps with kind of keeping the prices suppressed, I don't think it's going to change my thesis that, and I've had this for 5 years, that owning land in Southern Ontario is just going to be great. That's pure. That's kind of it, right? So I think this is all, a move in the right direction, but is it going to be the silver bullet people want? No, definitely not. Definitely not. I think where maybe some of this is useful right now is anyone who's owned their lot for a long time, and it's free and clear, meaning that the cost of the land or the home is negligible right now, just property taxes and insurance, you can probably convert that into something larger and make some money, right? So this is where like you take call like a bungalow lot and you convert it into 5 units and you don't have development charges right now. Or in this case, if you're on an artery road, you can convert that into like 6 to 7 units and make like small apartment buildings. I think that will move the needle. But is it going to make things more affordable where the value of the land goes up and builders want to come in and build more? No. So I think this upzoning is going to incentivize the people who've owned real estate for a very long time to convert that use into something of higher and better use so that they make more money. And I think that makes a lot of sense. But for everybody else, not so much right now. Just not so much. Anyways, I hope this gives you an idea of what's happening in the real estate market, especially with a lot of this talks of upzoning, a lot of rulings and regulations, because election is coming up. I think we're going to see a lot more of this, which is fine. Like if you really want to see what's going to be coming down the pipeline, honestly, like just look at Vancouver. Like they're always 1 or 2 years ahead of where we are for policy. And if you look at where Vancouver is, we'll probably get into Toronto in like a year or 2. That's where I think you could like have some psychic, mind reading crystal ball stuff. But other than that, like I don't think any of these things is a silver bullet. It will help the cause of not enough affordable homes. But unfortunately, I think the homes that are going to be built, even if we can make them affordable, are not going to be the type of homes that most people are looking for. And that's why I keep circling back to owning freehold homes in the Greater Toronto area is going to be a very, very sought after thing in the next 10 years. That's going to be almost next to impossible to achieve. It could be shorter. It could be shorter, but I don't know, right? I'm just saying 10 years. But we just can't build that type of product that everyone wants. And because of that micro market of the freehold land-based stuff that we can't build enough and everyone wants it, it's just going to make prices go up. Everything else around it, we can build up, right? This upzoning, we can build up. The condos, we can build up. Are we going to open up more land in the greenbelt in the lake? Probably not, right? So that's what I'm saying. Homes that are large enough right now, especially detached homes with backyards, are going to be very sought after in the future. So right now, I've been telling a lot of my clients, if you're trying to move up, this is actually a good time to move up in the ladder right now, going from, say, a condo to a freehold, because things are softer. Although the condo market is kind of soft, it's still a hard transition. It's going to be well worthwhile, and it may not be any easier in the future. So if that's you and you're looking to upgrade from your condo to a freehold home because you have a growing family, you could book a call with me using the link that's on the screen. It's right here. It's www.chatwithzen.com. Until next time, your move, your future. See ya! Now that you're done watching this one, how about this one or this one? You know what? Just watch them both.